Guys, and welcome back to another video. My name's Destiny. We do book things here, and today we're going to talk about my March wrap-up, or April wrap-up. Hard to believe it's going to be May. So, in April, I ended up reading 14 books, which is a really high number, and I'm really, really proud of myself. So far in May, I think I have finished I'm not going to give you a number because I'm not 100% sure, because I've been reading through the Pro books and I probably 30 minutes to an hour on one more and I'll have another Pro book finished. But I wanted to do my April wrap up for you guys because pretty soon you're going to get a bullet journal flip or a reading journal flip through, because I finished this reading journal all except one page. There's one completely blank page in here that I think I want to just do a quote. I haven't figured out which quote I want to do. It's just going to be like a creative thing, but I have one page. So I wanted to do my April wrap up though for you guys before I flip through this, because this kind of spoils what I read in April. But so I'm going to start with what I first finished and work my way down. I will let you know if it was audio or physical. I'm looking at this. I think, is there any? No, one. There's one physical. All the rest are audio actually. So without further ado, let's get started. I have my list so I don't forget anything. The first one I finished was As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. That is a twisted tale. It is the retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it was the one that I honestly was trying to finish. If you know, it's been on my shelves forever. I think one of my first TBRs on here has that on there. So I really wanted to get it done. I got it done. I gave it 5 stars. I think the way it ended was super, super interesting. A lot of these twisted tales, the ending ends like the Disney movie. In most of them, this one it didn't, and I thought that was really, really interesting. The next one was another twisted tale, which I read 3 of them this month. Yes, and that is Straight On Till Morning. It is the Peter Pan retelling, and I gave it 5 stars. I can't really give you any thoughts on it as far as it relates to the Disney rendition, because I know nothing. It's the middle of summer. I'm sorry. Bugs are hitting the window over here. And I'm sorry if you hear Scooby-Doo playing. My kid I just got her home, and so she's going night-night. But I didn't really watch the Disney version, and I've never really been really into the Peter Pan story. It's not something I know much of. I've seen Hook multiple times. It's the one with Robin Williams, where he's Pan, but he doesn't know it. He leaves Neverland, grows up, and has to come back and find his inner kid again, and beat Hook. I've seen that, but I've never really seen the actual Peter Pan, and I enjoyed the story a lot. I think Wendy was really smart and courageous. I really enjoyed it. The last one I read that was a twist tale was Conceal and Don't Fail. No, I'm wrong. There's one more. I read it later in the month, but there's just one more. I've read 4 this month. The third one I read was Conceal Don't Fail, and that is the Frozen retelling. I really enjoyed it. I feel like the premise is, what if Anna and Elsa never met? And I read this really early on in the month, but I feel like it didn't sway from the Disney version very far at all. This one was one of the ones that was most close to the Disney retelling as it could be. And so I had mixed feelings about it. I did give it 4 stars. Straight On Till Morning I gave 4 stars as well. So it wasn't one of my favorites. If you've not seen, no, because that comes out after this. So, a little bit about my ranking style. 5 stars means I would want to read it again. I absolutely loved it. I want to live with these characters. This is something I want to just immerse myself in more. 4 stars is it was good. I enjoyed myself, but that level of immersion, that level of love is not there. And then I just closed my move ring. It just goes down from there. So the 4th book I finished this month was Book of Blood and Shadow. I'm gonna put them all by my head. I can't remember who this is by for the life of me right now. But to be honest, it was a 3-star. I enjoyed it, but it seemed a little far-fetched and very convoluted and not in a good way. If you know, I love a convoluted plot. Like, add it all in there. Just throw it all in there. As long as it makes sense and I can follow your train of thought, I say throw it in there. And for this one, personally, I feel like I couldn't follow this train of thought. It was a little all over the place. This one follows a girl. I'm trying to remember correctly. Her friend dies? Oh, no, okay. So they are researching a lost alchemist book, and they think it has the formula to everlasting life. And people start dying. Shit comes up missing in there, in where they're studying, and it takes off from there. It was just very convoluted. It was so convoluted that by the end of it, I was like, what are we doing? What's going on here? It does have a little bit of a murder mystery, and I listened to it, and I honestly think I could benefit from... There's bugs everywhere. I'm sorry if you hear Freya. I think I could benefit from listening to it again, but I have no desire to. Next, I finished my favorite book of the month, and that was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This was a really emotional one for me, and it does have trigger warnings for SA, and abuse of all forms, to be honest. And Maya narrates it herself, and it is one of the most beautifully written books I think I've ever read. It only drives me to pick up her poetry because it is literally just beautiful. Even the painful parts where I found myself crying and just completely upset were just... I can't describe it anymore. I'm going to do a full discussion of that in the last one I finished this month, which we'll get to. But I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I think about it on a daily basis. It may be my favorite of the year because I genuinely will be sitting at work doing something and a quote from that will just pop in my head. Or I'll be thinking back about this scene that she wrote and how she wrote it. And hearing her talk about her love of words and the pain she went through and how she escaped it via books and via words, and like learning that her words have power, and how incredibly deeply she took that. Oh, it's amazing. If you have never read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings and you are not and you don't have a trigger to SA or abuse or anything like that, I highly recommend. Her family was very poor. She lived with her grandmother for a while, went to live with her mom, and then had to go back to live with her grandmother, and it's amazing. In the end of it, she talks about her son. She does have a son, and how she ended up pregnant with him. And her outlook on that just rings so true to my soul that I am going to buy a physical copy. I'm going to annotate, and it will forever live with me on my shelves because I absolutely loved it that much. The next one I finished I finished 2 physical. I'm wrong. And that is Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Mascalo. I could be saying her last name wrong. I'm sorry if I am. This one is the second one in Hunting Dracula, or Stalking Jack the Ripper. I vlogged while reading this, And you'll know until I've reached the end, the very end of this, I was not feeling it at all. It was going to be a 3 to 2 star. Was not going to continue with the series. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I am going to continue the series. I don't think I'm going to buy them, though. When I finished Stalking Jack the Ripper, I was in love, and I wanted the next one. And I think if I had rolled right over into the next one, I wouldn't feel the way I do. But since I didn't, I had a little space from it and did not enjoy that one as much as I did the first one. So the third one, I'm going to borrow from my library and give it a read. If I fall back in love and the second one just suffered from middle book syndrome, then I will buy them. If I don't, and I end up not liking it at all, no harm, no foul. I didn't spend my money. I don't have to worry about it. The 7th one I finished this month was The Lost Apothecary. That was another 5-star read. That one for me, I guess via the hype, I misheard someone when they pitched this book, because I thought our main character stumbled upon this apothecary that had been there forever, and she starts learning the history of it. I didn't realize it was a mystery of her figuring out what happened to this apothecary, what happened to the alchemist that was running it, and what their stories. Honestly, it was still amazing, and I'm happy we got that story over her stumbling upon this apothecary. I loved her finding her passion and deciding to stick with it. And it was really, really good. I highly, highly recommend The Lost Apothecary. If you enjoy any kind of historical fiction, if you enjoy dual timelines, and enjoy mysteries, not thrillers, but mysteries where you don't know how it's going to end, you don't know what's going on, you're just as blind as the main character in some points, I highly recommend this one. Number 8, I read House with Good Bones by T.K. Fisher. I gave this 5 stars. Guys, it was so good. That Vulture was freaking amazing. T.K. Fisher cannot do wrong in my eyes. I will read anything they put out because it's just so good. I did not realize I liked horror like that until I started reading T.K. Fisher, and I think I've read most of what they put out. I know there's a few I'm missing, but Scribd has locked me down. I've listened to too many books too quickly, and so they have me locked out until the end of the month, and then I'm going to pick up another T.K. Fisher. But this one was so good. This has plant horror in it. And before you come at me, let me just reiterate what is the one I read before this? It has mushrooms. It's set, I can't think of what it is. I don't want to flip through. Let me see if I can give you. Okay, so after searching, I know the video I was thinking about was T.K. Fisher's What Moves the Dead. So What Moves the Dead is a mushroom horror, where this one actually talks about plants, like all plant forms sort of, but more flowers than anything. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. The Vulture just made me happy. Having a animal sidekick in the horror novels are like my favorite thing. Like with the Twisted Ones, the dog was like hilarious and my favorite. Absolutely love it. The next one I finished, number 9, was Death by Dumplings. This one I have mixed feelings with. It was a good cozy mystery and one of the first I've read. I gave it 4 stars according to my notes. I just felt like it was a little more convoluted than I wanted. I understand that cozy mysteries are supposed to be a little outrageous and a little amateur sleuth kind of thing. But this one, I don't know. I'm excited to try another one. I think maybe this one in particular, because she talks about how she can't solve this and how she knows nothing, yet she still solves it. So it's just like a weird dichotomy there. I think that's the wrong word I'm wanting, but number 10 that I finished was Murder Houses, American Murder Houses. This is a nonfiction. I usually don't rate nonfiction. This one, though, I'm giving a 3. For the information it gave, it was really, really interesting. I think that some of the stories I didn't know, some of the houses I wasn't familiar with, some of them I knew. Like, they talk about Manson and the houses that the cult members committed murders in. They talked about, it's going to come to me in a minute. She gave her mother 43 and then went and gave her father 46. Oh, I can't think of her name. Lizzie Borden. They talk about the Lizzie Borden house. And that story to me is really interesting because I still don't know if she did it or not. And then, just like certain ones I know, they talked about Jeanette, or Ramsey's her last name. The little girl who's murdered, and they never figured out who did it. Her, Janae? It starts with a J. Anyways, I talked about that house. One of the things I didn't like was that the very last house that they talk about and everything is a house that never had a murder in it, and they're talking about more of the lore. That I really didn't enjoy as much. I do give him props because he doesn't only talk about the murderer, he also talks about the people who were murdered, the victims. He does give a lot of light to them. He goes back and tells you about the murderer a little bit, and gives you a little bit of history. So I did enjoy it. The next one is one that I still think about, and I cannot wait for the next one to come out. It comes out later this year, I believe, or next year, and that is Iron Widow. This one is about it's a fantasy novel about a girl who basically sacrificed herself to be a co-pilot in these great big, they're kind of machines, but it also has like a fantasy element where chi is involved in the exchange of chi and everything. And usually the women who go into these machines with men die. Her sister died with this certain pilot, and so she sacrificed herself to be his Ying? Is yin and yang. The yin to his yang, and when she gets in there, she ends up murdering him. She overpowers him, and her chi outranks his, and so they make her sit in with a convicted murderer. He has the highest chi level they've ever seen. Every girl who has rode with him, he has killed. Like, he's just that powerful. And so they think that they'll fix her by sending her over there to die because she killed the other pilot. And things don't go to plan. It is so good. The title for Iron Widow means that it's given to a girl who killed her pilot. And so it's a very, very interesting concept. And by the end of it, she is so badass that I can't wait to read the next one. I listened to it from the library. It was very much I just want an audiobook right now. I don't really care what I pick up. Just anything will do. And I picked that one up. The next one is the fourth in the Twisted Tales that I read, and that is Part of Your World. So this is an Ariel retelling. This one I found super interesting. It did veer from the Little Mermaid movie, because I have seen it, and it gave a totally different spin. I'm giving it 4 stars because it's not something I would want to reread. It wasn't something that sat really well with me, but it did enough different that I absolutely loved it. Ariel grew up a lot in this one, and I think that was what the author was going for, was for Ariel to grow up. She learned a lot of lessons and found herself in this one, so I highly, highly recommend. It's one of my favorite. I think, honestly, still my favorite has to be the Mulan retelling, but Little Mermaid's pretty close. And then number 13 is Together We Burn. This is another one that I got from the library, an audiobook that I thought, I'm just going to pick it up and give it a try. Why not? And it was so good. So this follows a girl who her mother dies in the ring. Her father fights dragons for a living. And it's kind of like the bullfighting in Mexico, in the Mexican tradition, which I could be wrong about that. She does speak Spanish. They do speak Spanish, and a lot of the terms and everything are in Spanish. So I'm assuming it's very much Latin America. I'm assuming it's Mexico because of the way she describes it, but I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But her mother dies at the end of one of the battles, and her father gets severely hurt. Their business, their ring that her father fights in, she dances before the fights, and one day there are 5 dragons that are let loose, and he gets burned really bad. A bunch of people die, and so now her family's on the line trying to figure out what they're going to do. Her father can no longer fight a dragon, and so she has to step up and figure out what she's going to do to keep them alive and keep their business running. It's a really, really good one. I gave it 5 stars. I highly recommend if you like YA novels like this. It was just it was a quick read that didn't really stick with me terribly. I would love to reread because I love the imagery and the descriptions, but it wasn't something that I think by the end of the year I would even remember reading. And then lastly, the last one I finished is another one that has stuck with me. The quotes are going through my head. The ending, I cried. And that is Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. I'm going to put it here. I want to say it's Mindy McGinnis. I realized I had another one on my shelves by her, but I didn't finish it till May. I read it. That's the next one I picked up in May. Female of the Species, it is definitely a conversation about sex and SA culture and how it's so ingrained in our society that I cried. The ending is very powerful. It's told from 3 different POVs. You get Jack, who is the golden boy at school. You get PK, Claire, who is the preacher's child. And then you get, I want to say her name is Alex. I could have that wrong. I believe it's Alex. Alex is the underdog. Her sister was found murdered. She got kidnapped, and when they went to arrest the gentleman, they didn't have enough proof, so they had to let him go, and he went and murdered her. He has since been murdered himself. No one knows who did it, and it's a small town, so the small town cop's like, he's gone. It's fine. We're not even going to talk about it. We're not going to discuss it. He's already gone. We're good. And it kind of takes off from there. It is wonderful. It is very triggering, though, and the language in it is not, they don't shy away from it. It can be triggering, but it was so good and so worth a read and necessary. Alex fights back against all of it, and when she's around, it makes people's eyes open. And she's going through her own inner battles as well. By the end, the ending had me bawling. I was sitting at Whataburger, actually, getting my daughter and I something to eat before we went and saw my partner, and I bawled. I could not believe it happened, and I was mad that was her fate, but I understand, but I don't on the same hand. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. If you are okay with the trigger warnings, like I mentioned, and it is YA, but I would say it's older YA, like 18, 19, just because of the discussions in it. I personally, as a mom, wouldn't feel comfortable giving it to my 15 or 16-year-old. I I think there are better options out there for it. Not that I can list them, but I'm pretty sure there probably is than this one. It definitely reads for older YA, new adult is where I would put it if I was putting it in a section. Our characters are at the end of their high school experience, so they're seniors in high school. But yeah, so those are the 14 things I read this month. Hopefully this did record because my phone is acting kind of crazy. And I am really happy with my reading month. I think I gave, let's look, because I know I can give you my stats. So this month, my favorite quote was, first there was trust, then there was betrayal. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot be betrayed by someone you do not trust. That was my favorite quote of the month, and that is from, I'm trying to make sure I know which book it was from. I want to say I know Weather Cagebird Sings. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I can't tell you which book that came from. Yeah, I am not sure. I wrote it down, and it was beautiful, but I cannot tell you which one that's from because I didn't write it. Yeah. And I read, number of pages I read was 4,918. My average star rating was a 4.6, which is really good so far. I want to say so far, if I'm looking at like yearly things, I'm still missing a lot on my A to Z. My buzzword, I did not fill in anymore this month at all. I'm probably going to buckle down next month on that, but for right now, I'm not too mad about where I'm sitting. And as far as my, where did it go? As far as my, I think it's the next page. Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm looking for it. There it is. No, that's my A to Z. Where is my bracket? I have an index for a reason. Oh, okay. Here it is. So for my book bracket, right now for the first 4 months of the year. So the way my book brackets broke down, which you will see in my flip through, it was January and February against one another, March and April against one another, and then those two against House of the Cerulean Sea is in the final running for my favorite book of the year. That could change, but for right now it is, and I absolutely love that one, so I'm not mad about it. So yeah, I'm really happy with where everything sits. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.